Hello and welcome. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers just lost to the Indianapolis Colts, and here's where the Bucs are right now, sort of a weird spot. They are one game out of first place. One game out of first place in the division means you can qualify for the postseason, right? One game with four divisional opponents left on their schedule. So their future is bright, and yet they have no hope. That's a weird place to be. It's sort of a weird football purgatory because the Buccaneers' issue is multidimensional. There are too many factors to just pinpoint one thing. You can't say, well, we lost because of this, or well, the Bucs lost because of that. Because throughout the game, this and that are always alternating, right? There are times where the offense strings together great drives, great possessions, looks fluid, looks very dynamic. There are times where the offense is stagnant. Can't get anything going. Loses yards. Just punts. There are times where the Buccaneers defense manages to get off the field, gets some pressure on the quarterback, maybe generates a turnover. And then there are times where the Buccaneers defense misses tackles. I can't even think of a great analogy. They just miss tackles. I cannot personally, bearing watching the Buccaneers defense miss tackles at the rate that they miss tackles, it could put you in a grave. It is unbelievable how poor the Buccaneers defense has gotten at just tackling ball carriers in space. Not even necessarily in space, just tackling ball carriers in the hole. Any situation at all. If you are throwing a screen pass against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you got a good chance that you're going to make the first guy miss. And that is just not what the Buccaneers defense was just a short time ago, and it's what they've become on a Sunday to Sunday, week to week basis. It's awful. So it's multidimensional. And because of that, and because you can't pinpoint one specific facet, right? That's a sign of an entire organizational failure, right? The Buccaneers were 3-1. Now they're 4-7. That's a collapse. Who does the collapse fall on? Well, since it falls on everyone, as we just discussed, that means it falls on the head coach. Because the head coach hired everyone and is overseeing and in charge of everyone. So Todd Bowles, honestly, there is not a thing going into games that I feel, personally, that Todd Bowles is bringing to the table on a week-to-week basis where I'm like, yes, sign me up for a little bit more of that. I don't see Todd Bowles as the defensive strategist that he once was. Defense, not effective. Doesn't look that good. Not at all. I don't see Todd Bowles as a great game manager. Not effective. Not good. I don't see Todd Bowles as a great leader or motivator. Team comes out flatter than pancakes most weeks. The Buccaneers were down 17-3 to Gardner Minshew and the Colts. Let me just let that sink in. Gardner Minshew and the Colts. On the first drive, Gardner Minshew came out slinging the rock. The Colts barely ran the ball. They threw it almost the entirety of the first drive, and they just ding, marched down the field with Gardner Minshew. This is Gardner Minshew. And I understand there's injuries on the defense. Listen, I get it. I really do. The Buccaneers play without Levante David, the best defensive player the Buccaneers have had this season and in the last... just the heart and soul. I get it. That's one player. Still had Devin White. He did play through an injury. Carlton Davis did play through an injury. Jamel Dean missed the game today. And maybe if this were a one-off, you could let it slide. But boy, if it isn't a pattern, then I don't have brown hair. I don't understand how anything could be, any pass could be given, any excuse could be made. Todd Bowles just isn't there. It doesn't work. It's not happening. And Todd Bowles will continue. If anyone watches these Todd Bowles press conferences where he just hops up in front of the media and says the same thing every week, he's on a loop. The Buccaneers have won one game since the bye week. 3-1 heading into the bye week. Beat the New Orleans Saints. The Buccaneers look like they were shocking the world. Remember that? It feels like it was forever ago, but it really wasn't that long ago. Buccaneers were 3-1. Beat the Saints in the Dome, 3-1. Wow, right? Come out of the bye week, get steamrolled by the Detroit Lions. Okay, Lions are a good team. Todd Bowles stepped up to the podium after that game and said, listen, we just look like a team that came off a bye week. Literally blamed the bye week for the Buccaneers losing. Okay? Don't believe me? Go back and watch the footage. That's what happened. And the Buccaneers have won one game since. Just one. Against a rookie quarterback in Will Levis and the Tennessee Titans. That's it. And it has been horrible. Other than that, each loss, and again, because it's so multidimensional, it's not as if each loss is like 10-3, 13-6, and you're like, boy, the offense just cannot help the defense. And it's also not as if every game is like 21-28, 24-27, and you're like, boy, the defense just can't make enough plays. Each loss, the Buccaneers find this weird way. They've got this skill. They just rip it out of you because they keep it just close enough where you're like, maybe this is the week. You know, we start a little slow, get a little bit of a rebound. The game's kind of, okay, maybe something. No, not at all. Not a chance. And the way the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play with little to no effort, they are lethargic, refuse to tackle. It's just a baffling fall from grace for so many players. And for a team as a whole, it is just, you can't explain it other than look at the guy in charge. Look at the leadership. That's the situation the Buccaneers are in. It's sort of a weird football purgatory. I'm not a tanking guy. I never advocate for a team to go out there and try and lose games because I don't think it's good for the sport. I think if you have teams trying to not win games, especially this early in the season, I think it ruins the competitive balance of the NFL, of the landscape of the league, and it's not good for football. So I'm not advocating that the Buccaneers tank or try to lose games. I don't think that that's the answer. I don't think it solves any of the problems. I do believe, though, that Bucs fans find themselves in a very weird football purgatory now because, like I said, one game out of first place with 4 divisional games remaining on the schedule means you kind of, in a way, control your own destiny, right? It's all right there out in front of you. The playoffs are still on the table. And yet somehow, even with that being the case, the team feels lifeless. Feels like they might as well be, headed to 0-16. It doesn't feel like there's any chance of that happening, even though very realistically on paper, it could. So that's where the Bucs are. No victory Monday for Tampa Bay Buccaneers fans tomorrow. And next week, the Bucs take on the Carolina Panthers. Again, it feels like a game the Bucs could win, should win, might win, but who knows? Bad teams find a way to lose.